Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today we're going to take a look at our African Nightcrawlers that are in our urban worm bag. Now, it's been a while since I've checked on this system. I haven't added any water or really done anything with it at all, and we have a special feeding of watermelon that's really going to add that moisture content back in that it's probably missing. So with that, let's go to the system, let's take a look and see how it's doing. Hopefully we find some really large African Nightcrawlers in there, and maybe also some babies like we've been seeing in our BN Link 10-gallon grow bag as well. So with that, let's take a look at our system and see how it's doing. All right, so here's our urban worm bag. We're going to go ahead and open this up and see how the worms are doing. As I said, this is going to definitely be dry, on the dry side. And actually, I see something a little interesting here. Let me grab my glove. In the corner, I see a whole lot of these millipedes. It looks like almost trying to escape the system here, which is sort of surprising. Normally they're down in the center and stuff like that. Feels a little dry. I still have plenty of millipedes there. The sides, oh my gosh, the sides are definitely drying out. You can see it's still crumbling apart though, nicely. It's been a while since we checked on this system, but you can see that almost all the paper is gone, even though we've added quite a bit. This is very, very difficult to dig through. So this is very solid. Hopefully we find some worms in here. I am a little bit worried. I haven't checked on the system in a while. I was hoping to a couple weeks ago and just didn't get around to it. But hopefully we'll find something in here that's alive, other than these millipedes. So we're going to start here in the center, where there's typically the largest chance of finding worms, because that's where the food was, and that's where the most moisture is. Alright. Alright, so far no worms. Let's just zoom in just a little bit there. Hopefully that gives you a better view and a little bit more lighting. Or I should say a little better, less darkening of the material here. This might not be a good sign here. Although you can get babies that are very small that you might not see. I'm just throwing stuff off to the side right now. Let's just kind of power through this center section here. These things also do need a big harvest. Look at that. I'm not seeing any worms. I see lots and lots of millipedes though. There's been a lot of them in this system. See, this stuff is just really, really bound together as well. It's really hard when you're digging in this too, because it wants to collapse from the sides. Alright, we might not have any worms left in here, but we're going to still add food. We're going to add moisture. We're going to do what we normally do. Up, 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 up. There we go. Oh my gosh, hold on. There we go. Alright, we still got a worm in here. Whew! Got a little scared there for a second, but they are still alive. They're still moving around, so that means there's got to be more in here. Probably just not, they're probably stuck. I mean, you can see this is really starting to get compressed and stuck together. This is not a good consistency. This is not the consistency I like to see. I'm just going to back you out a little bit here. It's a little bit too clumpy. It does break apart, but it's still sort of stuck together. So I'm not a big fan of this consistency, but as you can see, hopefully this means that with this worm right here, hopefully that means that we've got more worms coming in to this system, and hopefully we'll be able to get some babies going, and hopefully there's some more worms in here somewhere that'll eventually repopulate this system. So with that, I'm just going to kind of dig this out a little bit in the sides. We're going to mix this up. Oh my gosh, look at all those tons of millipedes in this system. They're probably breaking down most of the material in here now, which can happen. Over here, oh, it's whole more. I mean, look at this. Tons and tons of millipedes. This is almost a millipede system instead of a worm system. But they're doing a good job of breaking it down. Oops, I got stuff all over my hands. Even more and more. They're really along the sides here. Let's just see if we can... Oh, another worm right here. That's a good sign. We've got a couple worms in here. That means that we can get babies. So, but you can see you've got these massive chunks that need to be broken up. The worms are in here to break through them. Normally they'd kind of eat through this stuff and it would just be nice and crumbly. But because we don't have a lot of worms in here, it's just Just go to the other side now. Again, look at this, tons and tons and tons of millipedes. Wow. I don't think I've ever had this many in the system before. I've definitely had a lot in systems, but never this many. This is a lot in here. They are okay though in a system. Unlike centipedes, centipedes will eat and they're carnivorous. These are essentially a different type of composter. Oh, there's some worms over here. I don't know if those are the worms we saw before. But yeah, so this system. Look, I mean, the material's not bad. It's not great, as you can see. It does crumble apart, but there's not a lot. There's just enough moisture. Actually, let's just see. I don't see worms in here. There's not enough moisture. Not quite enough. I can't squeeze any moisture out of it. It just kind of goes right between the fingers. So it's not quite the right consistency. It's a little bit too dry. It'd be great for sorting, though. If I was going to sort this system, it'd be very easy to sort this out, break it apart as it's going. Although some of these are kind of sticking together a little bit too well because it's so dry. But with that, we're going to go ahead and do kind of a feeding here anyhow. So, all right. I'm just trying to dig out the center section. I do like feeding in the center. Oh, hold on. Oh, I think there's more worms in the bottom here. I wonder if they're trying to dive down to find moisture. And as I add moisture to the system, they might come back up to the surface. So let's just break this up a little bit more in the center section here. We're going to, just to see, look at this. You can see where this is just giant chunks of material, though. There's a little bit more moisture maybe down here, though. They might even be further down. There might be more moisture in the bottom of the system than even over here. But for right now, we're going to say this is good. All right. So with that, what do we want to do? Well, we're going to add in some of our cardboard first. Just a little bit. This is fresh cardboard. I like to add in just a touch. Now I'm going to add in some of our food cycler leftovers. Well, I'm going to add quite a bit actually, so I'm going to add in a big scoop of leftovers there. So, and actually, all right. So this went through the machine. This was actually a corn on the cob, it looks like, that did not break down fully. So we're going to go ahead and throw that in there as well. You know, got to keep this system moving. But now what I want to do is even though I'm going to add watermelon, I'm going to moisten this down just a little bit. So I'm going to turn on my, if I can find the switch, my electric water right here. So there's my sprayer that I've got. I'm just going to kind of move this around, spray it down, get it wet. And there's a couple reasons why I'm doing this. One, this stuff has a lot of microbial life that can get into it very quickly. It's very broken down. Two, it's very, very dry, and the system is already very dry. So I don't want this to absorb all the water from the system. So I just need to keep adding moisture to it and kind of making sure that there's enough moisture in here where it's not going to just dry out the rest of the system. Just like you would do with cardboard. If you added just a whole bunch of dry cardboard, eventually this is just going to be a dry cardboard system. So just drying my hands off now a little bit. All right, now that's probably pretty good because we are going to add watermelon. And I have some big chunks of watermelon to add that are frozen. And now with this, by the way, I just want to say that there's no worms that are in that or bugs or anything. So we can go ahead and just add the watermelon right in there. So I got to smash that down a little bit. These are big chunks of watermelon. So really big chunks. They've got a lot of moisture in them. They're sticking to my gloves. We're going to go ahead and just kind of pile those in here. This is going to add a lot of microbial content as it... just add all this ice in here. I have a lot of watermelon to add to my systems because I've just been eating a lot of watermelon lately. Some of it's been going through the food cycler, but most of it ends up like this because it's just so much water content really to add to the food cycler. Now with that, I am going to add a little bit of cardboard on top as well. Just sprinkle some on. Because what we need to do now is we need to cover this up. So we're going to go ahead and cover this. Scrape the sides down. Cover this really well. And why are we covering it? Because you don't want this to grow mold or anything like that on the surface. Oh, here's a worm right here. So there's another worm along with some millipedes. as you can see right there. You can see the size difference really. So there's the millipede right there, and there's the worm. So major difference in size between the two of them. Now hopefully that worm will bury down in there and get that food eventually once it warms up a little bit. But in the meantime, we're going to add a little bit more moisture to this system because the top is also very dry. There's not a lot of moisture in here, so it's going to kind of add a little bit more moisture. Just get everything a little bit wet. In fact, I'm going to add some more cardboard on top of this too in just a minute. But there's a really lack of moisture in this system, and I want to make sure that we get enough in here. In fact, you know what I didn't do? I didn't add any of my biochar that I have either. I haven't done any of that for this system. I think maybe next time we'll do that. I don't have it handy right next to me right now. I'm just kind of watering down the sides a little bit. The sides tend to dry out first on these systems, so adding a little water along the sides is going to help moisture get down those sides. These big chunks in here. I'm just trying to break these big chunks apart too. There we go. By the way, I really do enjoy using these sprayers. I think it's a lot easier than the hand ones that I've been using. I used for years, about 8 years actually now, I guess, since I've been doing this for 10 years. So there we go. But these sprayers are a lot easier, especially for holding large quantities of water, because this holds 4 gallons instead of the, very small amount that my prior one held, which is I think like a gallon. So all right, I'm going to add a little bit more cardboard on top here. Yes, this will soak up some of the moisture, but at the same time, I just want to make sure that we've got a good barrier on the surface here to keep things nice and fresh and prevent mold from getting in. One more handful right here. All right, I think that's good. That's going to hopefully hold in some of that, allow the moisture to kind of soak up into there. As I said, I'm not too worried about moisture in the system. With the watermelon we added, watermelon is primarily water. I do actually have a bucket underneath the system that will catch any of the extra liquid that comes out, which has happened when I put watermelon in a lot of times. If you don't have enough stuff to soak up the liquid, it'll just run right out the bottom of these bag systems. So you really want to make sure you have a way to capture it and not just have it drain all over the ground. So with that, thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments about the urban worm bag or the vermi bag or African Nightcrawlers, please leave a comment down below and let me know.